Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be going over the Corrupted Gauntlet and how to potentially work your way to getting that first kill completion. Or if you're struggling to be a little bit more consistent, say you get a kill, then die, get a kill, then die and repeat, then maybe this can allow you to be a little bit more consistent in your runs, mainly during like say the resource gathering phase. And before I proceed any further, while there is a normal version of the boss, which is much easier in comparison to the corrupted one, this guide will only cover the corrupted. However, a lot of the stuff will still apply to the lesser version as well. While your stats may differ from this, it is recommended to have about 80s in both range and mage, as those are usually the easiest way to get your first kill and continued kills. If you are going to be choosing the melee option, then of course having 80s in that, whether it be strength and attack, will greatly assist you. And of course, as it relates to HP, the more HP, the more you can kind of just put off eating food so you can get more DPS in. Or if you happen to make a mistake, then you're not going to be punished as easily for it, especially during, say, the tornado phase. Then looking at prayer, again, kind of the same thing as HP, the higher the better, but you are able to get away with a lower prayer level here. Before we actually get into any pathing and resource management, there are some recommended plugins and just settings that I'm going to run through real quick so that we can have those set up before you actually get into any runs. Just out of curiosity, let's see if anyone got any cool drops in here. Oh, someone got a enhanced. Nice. Congrats to Conky Dongs. All this will be in RuneLite, and these are available via either the plugins that are included with RuneLite or via the plugin hub. So first off, taking a look at key remapping. This will be true for any bossy, not just limited to the Gauntlet. So I definitely recommend setting up your keys to be a little bit easier to work with. While you do have access to the F keys on most keyboards, it doesn't really make sense to kind of take your hands away from the normal WASD, if that's what you're using to move your camera, to be able to switch to gear, prayer, mage, etc. I can do E to go to prayer, and then F to go to magic. So for here specifically, my E, or your prayer hotkey, will be used quite often. So if I'm using WASD to move my camera, I want to have quick access to my left hand, be able to press my hotkey, access my prayer, and then I can go back to my inventory using control. If you want to pause and just copy my layout, that's totally fine. Feel free to do so. Otherwise, I would recommend finding a setup which works best for you. Next thing I'd recommend taking a look at is actually within the entity hider. So the main thing we're going to be toggling here is the hide dead NPCs. So what this does is actually hides their body a little bit faster than it would otherwise. So once you kill them, you're able to pick up their loot and move on a little bit quicker. This is a small time save, but I've kind of found it's been great across all of Osrs, not just again limited to the Gauntlet, because the main issue in the Gauntlet is that their body will linger. If you try to click to pick up all the items, it's going to try to attack their dead body, which obviously is not going to do anything, and then you're just kind of wasting a little bit of time. The third plugin, and kind of fourth one if you want to use this instead, is called the NPC Indicator, or there's the plugin hub version called Better NPC Highlighter with a lot more fleshed out options. Let's go ahead and take a look at the indicator because this is pretty straightforward. So for the boss himself, it is helpful to kind of understand where the boss is and the tiles he takes up. And this could be easily done with a few of the options here, namely the highlight tile, which will allow us to actually view the boss and the tiles he takes up in game. This is super helpful whenever we actually want to avoid standing underneath him and then getting smacked by the melee attack, which can do up to about 68 damage. That's a lot of damage. So the way you can do this is if we actually go into the Gauntlet real quick, you can shift right click on the boss themselves, and then there would be a tag all option here. And as you can see, that's already done. And this is what he's going to visually look like, so you can kind of see the tiles he's taking up. And then of course, if you don't want to just do this, you can actually just add in the name Corrupted Hunllef, and that's going to go ahead and highlight the boss for you. Another plugin that's extremely useful, again, just across all of Osrs, and I wish I had started using it much sooner, is tile indicators. Although you get a good sense of where your character is just by playing the game, it's actually nice to have the current tile be highlighted here via the true tile, so I can see exactly where my character is on the server. And where the true value of the true tile comes into play within the Gauntlet is when you are dealing with the highlighted floor sections as well as the tornadoes. So obviously if you're able to know that your character isn't on a floor section, you can attack with greater confidence. And the same is true for the tornadoes. As long as your character on the server is away from the nados, you're good to fight. And of course, the one that's going to help you out the most, and this is available on the plugin hub, which is called the Gauntlet. The Gauntlet plugin has a bunch of useful information for us to make our lives much easier during our initial pathing / resource gathering, the boss fight itself, and just some quality of life stuff. If you want to pause the video at any point to see how I have mine configured, and then you can mirror that if you want, feel free to do so. The main thing we're going to be looking at is this first one for resource tracking. This is going to make your life much easier. It's kind of going to do all the hard work for you. So if I go back into the Gauntlet, we'll kind of see this visually. Based on how I have this configured, I will know that I'll be able to achieve the tier of armor that I'm after, how many potions I want to have, how much food, the overall shards required, and of course weapons, and the 2 final upgraded weapon versions that I'm after. Again, this is just a lot of information that's readily available at a glance, as opposed to having to actually memorize all this at each time, which takes off a lot of the load whenever you're doing these runs. I definitely recommend leveraging the wiki on setting up this for the first time, just so you understand how many of each of these resources that you'll need. The next thing is the resource overlay, so let's go ahead and open up the first room here and see what we got. So you can see the different colors, again, just corresponding to what actual resource we're wanting to go for. And again, you can adjust these in case you have like color blindness, just to make your life a little bit easier. The main thing I would highly recommend having here though is the minimap overlay. So the way I generally do my runs is that whenever I open up a new room, I'm not really looking at the room too much myself. I'm mainly concerned with the minimap, but I can immediately open a room and be like, boom, I know there's 2 ore, 2 fish, and a herb. And then of course, to pair with the map, we have the option right below to remove the overlays once we've actually acquired enough of those resources. This is again great because as soon as I open up a room, I'm not having to waste time looking at, okay, we have ores here, okay, we have fish. Those will automatically be removed and you'll only be shown the most pertinent information. I don't mind this one too much. This is just going to highlight obviously the main activities in the starting room, which of course is the singing bowl for any upgrades that we have, the water pump for filling our vials, and then obviously the cooking range for our food. Again, I just recommend having the minimap overlay. It's very similar to what we just saw with the resource overlay, and I personally just enjoy it. You can, if you want, for each of the bosses, also color them. I personally do not care to do this. And although we did leverage the NPC indicator for this, you can actually use the Gauntlet plugin to kind of do some highlighting for the Hunllef, if that helps you keep better track of the tornadoes, etc. Although I did mention it, it is easiest with the range and magic weapons, just because it allows you the most movement freedom and avoiding any of the tiles, tornadoes, while also getting potential attacks in on the boss himself. Regarding armor, to go a little bit more in depth, why you may leverage some of the higher tier armor. When praying correctly, you have a max hit from the Hunllef up to 16, damage from the tornadoes anywhere from 15 to 30, and most commonly run is tier 1 armor, which is going to reduce that damage down to 13 for a normal max hit, and tornadoes anywhere from 15 to 25. For tier 2, it is reduced down to a 10, and then the tornadoes are reduced anywhere from a 10 to 20. And then finally, tier 3 is an 8, damage from tornadoes being anywhere from an 8 to 15. Then of course, I can't explain a whole bunch of the mechanics without actually doing the run. However, I kind of found it was a little weird when I was actually doing the editing itself. It didn't flow as well, or kind of taking a lot of time and being actually kicked out or teleported to the boss, which made the editing kind of a little sloppy. So what I am going to do instead is just to start a run, I'll explain my thought process while I'm going, and then if there's anything I missed while doing the run, I'll go ahead and just pause the video. I'll put all my comments or anything else that I missed into post, and then we'll continue the run from there. So without further ado, go ahead and enter the Gauntlet here. And depending on what our map layout looks like, so I don't do this every time, but just for the sake of this, our northern side where the crystal bowl will always spawn is going to be up to the left, right? So what we'll probably do is just start our first loop going to the right, up, and then around like this. And then once we create some stuff, we'll go ahead and go to the full north room, where again, we can actually encounter a demi-boss. So again, demi-boss can spawn anywhere with a plus shape where you have the corrupted Hunllef in the middle. And so we'd follow that all the way to the end, and then any room to the left or right in this case is a chance for a demi-boss. Let's go ahead and do that. So there's nothing in here. We'll go ahead and grab 3. While I'm doing my running, I usually like to move everything down for the most part, just so all my most important items are at the top. And then of course we have a level 2 here, so we're going to go ahead and skip any of the level 2s on the first pass just because they take long to kill. And something to keep note of for these doors is when you actually open them, you want to make sure you're careful about the line of sight. Obviously, you don't know what's going to be there. In our case, it's a dark beast, so we'd have had to been prey in range if we were opening it in a line of sight. And then again, nothing here, just level 2s. We have some fish, so we'll go ahead and do this on the first pass. It's not going to be too bad. Generally, you're going to be dropping some fish whenever you start onto your second loop, or even your third loop potentially. So it's not a bad idea to go ahead and get these ahead of time. Now we know there's more food up here, so once we get our first weapon frame, we'll come back, kill the dark beast, and we know we can jump over to this room for more food. And we kind of got lucky. It looks like this is going to be everything for our items. Go ahead and throw on prayer here to protect us. There is some tech around doing like tick manipulation for the ores when you're getting attacked, but it's something that you don't really have to worry about. So generally I don't really care too much. Again, you're guaranteed on just the level or tier 1 enemies to get a weapon frame on your third one if you don't already have one. Otherwise, the tier 2s will guarantee you one on your first, no matter what. All right, so now that we're here, what we're going to focus on is getting a weapon first, and generally I like to attune mine as well. We'll get 2 vials for the end fight, and then we'll worry about the armor kind of as we go. And then let's go ahead and drop some fish. Another little bit of tech is for the vials themselves, so that we can worry about filling those up when we are actually fishing, so that way we're not wasting too much. And while you're fighting these bosses, it's also a good idea to kind of go ahead and just light up the nodes on the sides, just so you get ahead of things. While we're in the middle of this, if we want to flick our offensive prayers, we totally can. And then also looking at our default tools here for the corrupted run, we can actually go ahead and drop all these except for our harpoon. Turn that off. If we need another weapon frame, these are also guaranteed every kill. So that is some good news. And then we'll go ahead and crush 2 of these, put on some armor, then make our way. So at this point, we don't actually need our pestle and mortar, so we can go ahead and drop that. Grab our second item here, and using the room to our advantage, we'll kind of go ahead and just dodge all these guys. Again, go ahead and attack the boss, light up the nodes while you're in between actual attack cycles. So we have another fish in there, and then a potential demi-boss in this room as well. Nothing there. You can also see that on the minimap. So this is great. We already have our bowstring and our weapon, so we'll go ahead and pick all of these up. We'll do a little bit of fishing. We do have 2 teleport crystals to use as well, so we'll definitely leverage those. Then once we're done fishing here, we'll go ahead and use our vials, use these up. If we are in need of prayer or ren energy, we can go ahead and do that now. Go ahead and kind of shift some stuff around if we wanted. And then in our case, let's go ahead and teleport back. So we do obviously have that room up to the north where we can actually get some more fish, so that'll be our next priority. Go ahead and get our second pieces of armor, perfect our weapon, create our bow, perfect that as well. Equip armor, and then we have our seed for this. So what we're going to do is, if we are totally fine with not having more food, we already have 8 down, and we know we're going to get 12 in this room, so we can drop our little torch there. We have 2 minutes left. Really, we just need to cook at this point, so we're in no rush. If you did want to consolidate your potions, and if you're going for 3, you do get 3 doses per, so you can go ahead and right click use to bring these over. And if you did want to bring more food with you, that's totally okay as well. It's just not totally necessary for me. So again, click compass. We're automatically going to be facing the north when we do this. We'll come over, drop our shards. Oops. Pick up our paddlefish, and let's go ahead and cook. If you did want to have some panic food, you can definitely leverage the version of paddlefish with the singing crystal bowl, where you can make them into essentially like a 1-tick eat food. And then let's take a look at what attack he's using. So in our case, we're fine starting the attack with either magic or range. It doesn't matter too much for us. And then as always, he will be beginning his attack phase with range. So one thing we can also do is, since we have time, whenever you're actually having the boss come around, it's a little annoying to have him directly in the middle of the room. So if you can get him into the sides, that's usually best, or just off to the edge. You can actually manipulate where he's going to be anyway, but it's not too much of a big deal if we just do this. So at this point, the fight's gonna be pretty straightforward. Generally, you're going to camp your prayer tab for most of the fight until you need to switch your attack styles or need to eat some food. And I'll go ahead and do that. So let's run into this corner. Just go ahead and eat up to full. We see he switched styles as well. Click away from the tornadoes. Not too much of a big deal. Just make sure you're being safe about it. And then generally, I like to always come back to my highlighted tiles in the middle, just because those are generally the more safe areas whenever the highlighted versions will move around. Once you actually get low on this, we'll sip a potion as well. So let's see where these spawn. Go ahead and be safe about it. We're not in any rush. Eat a little bit of food. You can see he's switching styles. Got a little bit of time here, so we can go ahead and attack. And back to center. And if we're going to be running around anyway, we can also take this opportunity to go ahead and eat up. Again, just keeping an eye on his attack styles. And with him highlighted, it does make it easy, as you can obviously see when he switches. Go ahead and attack and move. And we'll want to get to safety here. Don't have to worry about attacking if we don't have to. And then back to center. Again, because you can drink potions without a tick loss, it is probably recommended to do that whenever you do eat some food. So if I'm going to do that, I notice my stuff is low, it's definitely a good time to do it. And then we start tornado phase. So let's go ahead and take a little bit of safety here. Again, don't have to rush things if we don't have to. And back to center. If you do find yourself needing to move your inventory around during this fight, you definitely can. It's not something you totally need to worry about, but if it makes life easier for you, by all means. And make sure we're on the correct tiles here. Go ahead and just click to safety. Tornadoes are a little close, so I don't want to worry about attacking him if I don't have to. And switch styles here. He should switch his. Perfect. And again, name of the game is making sure your health stays high enough. You don't want to waste a run just because you're trying to optimize everything perfectly. Go ahead and eat a little bit to safety. Take our time. Watching our true tile. He switched his attack, so let's go ahead and switch ours. Again, I'm not going to really worry about trying to be too safe about these NATOs, and then back to center. So pretty straightforward run. We definitely got some good spawns with the tiles, the tornadoes, and obviously where the boss was positioned. And that's because we had enough time during the resource gathering phase. So let's see if we were rewarded with anything. Dang. Some final thoughts. So obviously practice is going to help you the most out of anything. Watching this video, other videos, trying to optimize down to the last tick isn't going to be super helpful if you just don't have the experience and you aren't comfortable in those situations. So if you're fighting the boss, you're not comfortable running around, switching prayers, eating food, or even just doing DPS, then watching these videos isn't going to help you towards that. Only practice will. So get in there, keep grinding, but each time that you're in there, you're wanting to focus on getting better at specific tasks within here, whether it be the resource management, making sure that your inventory is set up in a way that you're able to quickly navigate everything, that you're understanding how to kite mobs around to protect yourself, you're using less prayer if needed, or of course the final little bit, which is going to be most challenging to everybody, the actual boss himself. You're only going to get used to these mechanics the more you're in there and actively doing them. One of the biggest things is just making sure you take a breath and trying to relax during these. If you are just tense throughout the entire thing, you're more likely to make mistakes. So if you find yourself kind of, tensed up in the shoulders or, just constantly shaking or nervous, just take a couple breaths to relax yourself before you start the fight, or even during the fight when you get a little bit of a downtime between the tiles, tornadoes, and normal boss attacks. If you just find yourself in a slugfest with the boss, you have a few options. Of course, upgrading tier of armor to take less damage overall will help you. But at the same time, if you're just not doing enough DPS to the boss, of course, upgrading your stats will be the primary option for you to increase that. But also with the release of the Royal Titans, we actually have access to 2 new prayers, which is Mystic Vigor as well as Deadeye. These are the in-between prayers between the default versions and the versions that you get from Chambers of Xeric. And finally, just know that you got this. You will get it done, and once you get it done the first time, it's going to just become that much easier each time you get in. Even if it's not going to be an automatic string of, say, 10 kills, you will start working your way into making each kill be a little bit easier. Just remember, any progress is progress. I believe in you and you should believe in yourself. With everything said and done, it's time for you to leave this video, jump into the Gauntlet, and get your first kill. And hey, if you do actually end up doing that, I would appreciate a comment on the video, just letting me know if it did end up helping you out. And alongside the comment, if you want to leave a like and subscribe for future content, then I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks. Have a great day.